Good morning. We'll call this meeting of the Bucks County Commissioners, March 3rd, 2021 to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will ask Bill Mitchell to lead us in that pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, and if we look a little bit clearer today, I'm not sure if that's going to be good or bad, but we have a new and upgraded audiovisual system, which I think we can show you right now. And while we are still feeding this to Facebook, I believe hopefully in a few weeks to a month or so, we'll be able to get the website up and be able to show it directly on the website. So this is part of the transition team's recommendations and all our recommendations that we be more visible and be easily accessible to the public. So welcome, and hopefully this new system works without flaw today. I'd like to begin today by saying I had asked our Executive Director of Parks and Rec, Bill Mitchell, to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And that's partly because I am announcing that he will be retiring and leaving the county in April. And Bill has been with the county for nearly 32 years. I think anybody who's used our parks or anything knows Bill Mitchell. I know that he has had institutional knowledge on our historic properties. In fact, Bill was the one who told me about Boone Farm when I first began here. He has helped us to expand our park system to what it is today. And one of the most important things to me is Bill was willing to have the Feral Cat Project take over in Core Creek Park. And believe me, that was really quite a project. So I wanted to wish Bill luck in his retirement. But before we say goodbye, Kevin Spencer would like to say a couple words as well. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is great. We can actually look at you instead of looking at the room. So this new system's great. Just want to say a few words about Bill. You know, it's been a pleasure for me, acting in my role. I've been here just over 10 years now. I've had a lot of different memories, a lot of great memories with Bill. But I was thinking back last night when you texted me. I was remembering back a couple years ago, Bill and I were talking about paddle boats, East Valley Park. And it probably goes back about a little over 3 decades now at this point. But Bill mentioned he was one of the ones he instituted bringing paddle boats into the county for recreation purposes. Yeah, there's a lot of different things like that he's done over the years. But the story we were talking about was kind of funny because I was sharing with him as a young boy. My parents took us to East Valley Park the one day, and my brothers and I were out in the middle of the lake on a paddle boat. Got into a splash fight, and we ended up sinking the boat in the middle of the lake. And it was funny, as I was talking with Bill, that the Rangers, one of them had to come out. My dad was so mad that the Rangers had to come out there, tow us back in with the boat. I think there was an extra cost for that. But it's ironic that literally 2 decades later, I would have the honor of literally working with Bill on a number of different projects in our parks in the past 6 years, working alongside him, just kind of as a steward of our park system. Bill has helped to develop, I believe the last park master plan has been instrumental in implementing that master plan across the entire county, from land acquisition to different pieces we've added to our park system. One of our former commissioners would always joke with Bill about the mountain that he was buying up there in Buck Wampum. But just I wanted to take a quick opportunity to highlight a little bit about our park system. And if you don't know, in our park system, again, a lot of this is due to Bill. We have a horse park. We have a 9-hole golf course. We have a dog park. We have polo matches up at Tinicum on Sundays. We have 2 swimming pools. We have cabin and campground rentals. As Commissioner mentioned, we have a historic mill, and there's a barn and the Stover House up there at Tinicum. We own an island in the middle of the Delaware River. I don't know if Bill was instrumental in purchasing that, but he was just sharing that with me last week. There's still things I'm finding out about our park system that Bill has been instrumental in all these years. And I believe we are the only county in the entire country to own a tile works. So we had some things on our salary board recently. We're going to be going through some operational changes there. But the county will continue to own that historic and treasure gem that we have. Bucks County Parks have it all, and so much more to offer. Thank you to Bill. He's been a steward of the county park system, developed recreation programs. There's numerous of them. If you look at the Pathways, which is our newsletter that Bill and his team would put out, you can see all of the different programs that our park system has to offer. And I was just thinking back to last night, with COVID as it hit last March. I think Bucks Countyans and people all around our county and surrounding counties, our parks saw an influx of people, more so than we maybe have seen in quite a long time. And it shows the value that our parks have, and that just the ability for people to come to them, to be outside, to be able to recreate and do that. What a valuable resource that is. So just wanted to say thank you, Bill. Thanks for working with me. Thanks for all the things you've taught me over the years. I appreciate it. And with that, we have something I want to present to you. So if you could come up here. We're going to be dedicating the Park Administration Office to Bill Mitchell. So I'm holding the sign here. This is the William M. Mitchell Park Administration Building, County of Bucks, dedicated March of 2021. So.
I just want to say thank you for the recognition. I must say that it's one of the more difficult decisions I've ever had to make because I still enjoy what I'm doing. I love Bucks County, and there's still a lot of things that I'm going to hopefully try and make sure they continue that way. With over 55 years of park and recreation experience, I'm one of those that is still doing what I graduated from college with the intention of doing. And the whole world is changing, the whole delivery systems are changing, and it's nice to be able to be leaving knowing that there's a sound foundation in the county to continue a level of service that will compete with anybody across the nation. Again, thank you for all your good, wonderful comments.
Thank you. Bill, there's always a Park and Rep board application to fill out, and if you need a cat at any point, we have cats.
Do we want to have Diane? Do we want to have those two come up here and like stand in front of us and do a picture?
Sure.
Yeah. Hey, Jim.
We'll have them come up here, Jim, too.
Hey, Jim. I'm going to have them stand here too.
Go ahead, Jim, if you wanted to say something.
Bill?
Stand or sit?
Hey, Bill, Gene DiGirolamo, just wanted to thank you. You said something that it was a hard decision you had to make because you love Bucks County so much, and I just want to let you know, on behalf of everybody in Bucks County, we love you as well, and thank you for the 31 years of dedicated hard work and service to the people of Bucks County. We very, very much appreciate it. All the best in your retirement. Thank you.
Yeah, we could stand as long as we put the chairs back. Thank you. Know how much you like that. That's right. Thank you. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that went well, Bill. Thank you. We have one proclamation today, and Commissioner DiGirolamo will read that. It is for Intellectual Disabilities Awareness Month, and Mr. Mike Kudla is here as well.
We have a proclamation, and I'll read it. Whereas between 1% and 3% of the population has an intellectual and/or developmental disability, cutting across the lines of racial, ethnic, educational, social, and economic backgrounds. Whereas an intellectual and/or developmental disability is defined as a disability characterized by significant limitations in areas such as intellectual functioning in an adaptive behavior as expressed in conceptual, social, and practical adaptive skills, which originates before the age of 22. And whereas people with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities are valued members of society, are friends, neighbor, and co-workers who find fulfillment living everyday lives. Whereas education, services, and supports continue to be vital to enabling citizens with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities to find greater opportunities to develop relationship, pursue their dreams, be integrated into their communities, and contribute in a meaningful way in their communities. Now, therefore, do we, the Board of the Bucks County Commissioners, Chair Diane Ellis Marseglia, Vice Chair Robert Harvey, and Jean DiGirolamo, hereby proclaim March 2021 to be Intellectual and Developmental Disability Awareness Month throughout the county of Bucks. In so doing, we encourage all residents to support the efforts and hard work of our neighbors with intellectual disabilities and their families as they strive to live self-determined lives and realize their own personal aspirations. Congratulations.
Thank you, and certainly you can come up, and if you have a few words. I do want to say as you're coming up that we appreciate all the work you do. This is not work that ends. I know when I came here in 2008, we were calling our office the Office of Mental Health and Mental Retardation, and it took a couple years to convince people to change that, and so that wasn't that long ago. So we have a way to go, but thank you for your work on it.
Well, I just want to say on behalf of the ARC Alliance and the people and family that we serve, thank you for this proclamation and for all the hard work that Bucks County does for and support for individuals in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, and you can come to proclamation. Hi, thank you. We're going to stop you and get a picture real quick. Thank you. And while we are talking about intellectual disabilities and any disabilities, I'd like to introduce Gail Humphrey, our clerk, who would like to talk about another forward-thinking program the county would like to do in this area.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, in honor and recognition and celebration of Intellectual Disability Awareness Month, when we were talking about this issue with you, Commissioner, and others, it made sense that there was some more work to be done in this area with the Board of Elections. As everyone knows, we had a great deal of upheaval and change that happened very quickly in elections. First, we had new voting equipment that went out to our polling locations. Then we had a change in the law that allowed for mail-in voting. Then we had a pandemic, and there was so much going on so quickly that now we have time to take a breath, come up for air, and we're realizing that there's more training and opportunities for our poll workers to have additional specific training on the ADA compliance machines that go out to our polling locations. And in that, we've put together a team that includes Kristen Ferry from the Wood School, who's here, is going to share a few words with us today, Mary Dunn, who's a member of our team here at the county, Kelly Gale, who works at the Board of Elections, and Tom Freitag, in addition to Jim O'Malley, who works in our Public Relations Department, who is exceptionally skilled, as we all know, of building videos. We're going to have a training video that we'll be able to show at a subsequent meeting here and before the primary on May 18th that will have an occupational therapist from Wood Schools and a client use our ADA machine. And as they're using the machine, the Wood School professional is going to explain for all of us which of those assistive technologies are necessary for what disability. And I think it'll go a long way to adding it to our training materials for our poll workers, in addition to the video that will not only help our poll workers, but also help us as friends and families and community members be more aware and celebrate that each of our members of our community may be presenting with a situation that we all need to understand more appropriately. So with that, I'm going to ask Kristen to come up and say a few words.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you, Gail, and thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity to be here today. As Gail mentioned, my name is Kristen Ferry, and I work at Wood Services. For anybody not familiar, Wood Services is based in Langhorne, and we serve people with intellectual disabilities, autism, and traumatic brain injury, including about 600 right here in Bucks County. So it's an honor to be here on behalf of those 600 people with intellectual disability and traumatic brain injury to recognize Intellectual Disability Awareness Month, and March is also Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness Month, which ties very nicely into what Gail was talking about that we're hoping to do with election awareness and voting awareness. These types of recognitions and acknowledging Intellectual Disability Awareness Month is so important because it really does help increase public awareness and public perception about people with these disabilities and traumatic brain injury. And it helps us find ways that we can all work together to help those people experience and achieve their highest potential and do something that many of us take for granted, as simple as going to the polls on election day and being able to vote. And these recognitions also help us identify where there may be some rooms for improvement, like Gail mentioned. This past election day, some of our clients who are registered to vote and have voted before went to the polls, like many of us, to go exercise that right. And, they just found that there's a general lack of familiarity with, ways to assist them or some of the accommodations that they may need to vote. For a really quick example, this will no way be an exhaustive list, and I'm sure our training video won't be an exhaustive list either. But, for example, somebody who has a traumatic brain injury may experience tremors, may have difficulty controlling their motions, and may need an aid or assistant that they bring with them to the polls to physically move their hand. And to the average person in the polls, it may look like, someone else is voting for them or manipulating their vote. And that's just not the case. So it's that type of thing that we hope to kind of get some of the stigma away from and increase awareness of just some of the most common adaptations and assistance that people with disabilities may need. So we're really thankful to you, commissioners, for taking this issue as seriously as you have and giving us the opportunity to work with the Board of Elections, who has been absolutely wonderful. So we are excited to announce that Woods is already working with the Board of Elections. We're going to continue working with the Board of Elections to not only beef up the existing training materials for poll workers and election day, but to create the brief video that Gail mentioned that we're excited to show to you before the primary to help make sure that poll workers and other folks involved in election day are able to identify people that may need assistance voting and some of the most common ways to assist them. So thank you again so much for these important recognitions and for your continued support of people with disabilities, because you guys have just been fabulous, and we know that you are allies in helping us increase awareness and support these people throughout our county who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. So thank you all so much.
We thank you for coming out here. We probably coming out here, as well as the work that you have done at Woods to help it be a partner with us in COVID-19 and things. I think, Commissioner DiGirolamo, were you going to say something?
I'm very excited about the project you're going to be working on with the Board of Election, Chris. I think it is much needed. I know there was a couple of instances in the last election, and again, we had a lot of challenges, but we're going to work with you to make that the project that you're working on, make it a reality, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that the people that you take care of at Wood School and across Bucks County have the opportunities to go to the polls and vote like everyone else does, and we're going to make sure that happens. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Gail. We're excited for you to get that video done. Bring it back. Okay. Moving on, do we have any brief public comments online?
No, Commissioner.
Any brief public comments in the audience? Yes, Commissioner.
you. It's good to be here today on behalf of, as a member of the Enlightened Board 30 years ago that hired Bill Mitchell to address the Enlightened Board who today recognizes Bill Mitchell for all of his service that he has done to make Bucks County, as was mentioned, not only have a good park system, but frankly, one of the most recognized park systems in the state and the nation. 30 years, as you all, those of us who in this, realize in any one position is a wonderful compliment to an individual and to the men and women, regardless of political persuasion, who see the value of that. So on behalf of beginning to the retirement, Bill, thank you. It's been wonderful. And Bucks County residents have certainly benefited from Bill's service. And that was one of the reasons I stood. The second one is real quick. When you get to item 10, C and D, could you please fill in the parameters of how long, how much, what, who gave what? Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay. Seeing none, I guess before I ask for a motion on the consent agenda, does anybody want to answer the specific questions on C and D? I know it's a 3-year contract. Anybody specific want to take it on? I don't know if there's, pardon me?
Specific question. Yes, some of the details of the contracts. The contracts are the same, basically. Between the two, the details of the contracts are the same for both unions. There's, I think, 2% raises. There's also increased contributions that they are making to health insurance. There's also new hires will be going into, I believe, an HMO instead of a point of sale, point of service for health insurance. I think there's an increase in, slight increase in uniform allowance. These are nurses for the most part and health department staff. I believe that's the, did I miss anything?
I think you did cover. If there's anything else you want, if you email, we can have HR talk to you.
That's good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which is items 1 through 12E, as well as the minutes of the February 17th, 2021 meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, moving to the regular agenda. Number 13, the Board of Elections, a contract with NPC out of Claysburg, Pennsylvania, approving a contract to provide printing and mailing of the 2021 election materials in the amount of $241,612.28. And Tom Freitag is here from our Board of Elections to talk about that. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So I just wanted to let you know, we did go out to this vendor. We just opened the bid last week for it. They were the lowest responsible bidder. So as we did with the last election, we went and toured their facility to check it out to make sure that everything was up to snuff, that we thought that they would be good for Bucks County. I went out there. They're about 3 hours west of us, so they are within the state. We did give a mileage radius that we wanted to try and keep the mailhouse vendor as close as possible, but also have a big enough circle that we could see who the best vendor locally available was. So they were within that radius, so that we can get ballots out to voters as quick as possible once we start mailing. They are an experienced mailhouse. They've worked with many state and federal organizations, the Internal Revenue Service, Social Security Administration, Department of Veterans Affairs. So even prior to this year, they were very familiar with large, high confidentiality mailings that had to be matched to make sure that the right person was getting the right information. They took that knowledge that they had and applied it to absentee and mail-in voting. As everybody here knows, there were a lot of changes in the election law over the last year or so. The biggest one was being that anybody can vote by mail now without an excuse. It used to be limited to an absentee voter that had to have either a reason for physical or disability or something like that, or if they were going to be out of their municipality. Though now anyone can, which really opened up to large amounts, as we saw 100,000 people applying during the primary of last year, 200,000 during the general. And so they saw that as an opportunity to take what they already knew of how to do all that matching and apply it to absentee and mail-ins. They have some experience already. They did Montgomery counties during the general election last year. They did Dauphin counties. Dauphin also uses the same clear ballot vendor that we do, so they're familiar with the printing specs and how the ballot has to meet certain specifications so that it will fit into the machines. So they are very familiar with that. They've also done printing for Blair County, Lancaster County, so they're quite familiar with the election. They also showed me their process of how they are going to be matching ballots to make sure that the correct voter gets everything. They're using QR codes that basically is a identifying code on the back of the ballot that all it does is identify the precinct, so it's no personal information whatsoever, just Bedminster East or Bedminster West, etc. Then they stuff it all in, all the non-specific items, and the last portion is that it's sprayed with the voter itself. So as it reads this QR code, it says, okay, the next voter in line that gets this ballot is John Smith. It sprays it on both the outer envelope, and then there's a window that actually sprays it to the return envelope. So there's no chance of mismatching the return envelope and the outer envelope, so you don't accidentally get your neighbor's ballot somehow, or your neighbor's envelope. So that was very impressive, the way that they do that matching. And then there's a final step that once it sprays all that information, it goes to another scanner to make sure this barcode, and this barcode all match. If it doesn't, it automatically rejects it, and so it knows that it has to recreate that. We used to do all of this by hand when it was absentee ballots. That had a very high chance of human error. The former vendor that we were using had a little bit more of an automated step to it, but they were still printing everything separately and then combining it all into one. This really eliminates the ability for a mistake to be made that you don't accidentally get the wrong party's ballot in a primary or the wrong precinct's ballot. So that's just one of the reasons that we chose to go with NPC. Besides them being the lowest bidder, they were the most competent bidder.
Mm-hmm. Good. Questions?
No? Nope.
Great. Terrific. Thank you. That was a good presentation, too.
Thank you.
And moving to number 14. 14A, we will approve a resolution extending the declaration of disaster emergency of March 13th, 2020, relative to a pandemic outbreak through July 8th, 2021. And B, with Protogen Energy in Quakertown, we will approve a free energy audit. Commissioner Harvey, did you have anything to explain about that?
Yeah, it's one of the, thank you. It's one of the things we're looking at here in Bucks County is to see what we as a county government can do to save energy and explore new opportunities for alternative energy, if that makes sense. Protogen Energy is a Bucks County-based company that does free energy audits. They did one for Berks County a couple of years ago, where they come in, they take a look at the electric bills you're paying, the buildings you have, properties you have, and does it make sense to do alternative energy? Is it cost efficient? Does it make sense for budgeting, for obviously for what kind of systems are going to work best? There is a secondary program they offer which will have a cost, but I did take a look at the Berks County report they issued. They gave us that as a sample. And it's a pretty in-depth report that they gave that county just a few years ago to give them an idea of what steps they could take. This would be a free service they offer. They could come and do an inventory essentially of our properties, take a look at our electric bills, find out where we can do some improvements to save some money, and obviously also cut down on any contributions we make to climate change. So I'm excited to move forward on this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your work on that, too. questions on that? And number 15, Emergency Health Services. There are 2 contracts. Brookfield Properties, Chicago, Illinois, approving a site agreement to allow use of the facility at the Neshaminy Mall for public vaccination clinics subject to the approval of the county solicitor. And with St. Luke's Quakertown Hospital in Quakertown, approving a memorandum of understanding to allow use of the facility for public vaccination clinics. And our COO, Ms. McKevitt, has anything to add to that? Or?
I'll just add quickly that we're grateful to both of these entities for allowing us to use their facilities. The Neshaminy Mall site is going to be the former H&M store. For folks who don't know where that is, they can look up on our website when they become available. And the reason we're opening these are we're planning for when we get more vaccine, and in both of those areas, we think that we'll be able to capture probably or vaccinate about between 200 and 500 vaccines a day. And we'll be using Pfizer at those sites, and they'll be open between Tuesday and Saturday between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. Our hope is to get get more vaccine, and as we do, that they'll be up and running by the end of the month. We will still be using our pre-registration list. So once we open these sites, we'll use the pre-registration list to invite people for appointments as vaccine becomes available.
Thank you. Any questions? No, and we're grateful for this company's doing this for us. And finally, 16, General Services, Whitmore Buick Chevrolet in Mount Joy, Pennsylvania, approving a purchase of 2 2021 Chevrolet Bolt electric vehicles for the Department of Corrections in the amount of $57,200. And this is part of our step to decrease our carbon footprint, and another thing we are proud of. I don't know if Commissioner Harvey has any additions. I know you've been...
Mr. Peralwy's here too. I don't know if he wanted to comment on
I will.
it.
I just...
Or Kevin, sorry.
Yeah, Kevin can go after me. We selected these vehicles for a specific post that we have in the facility, which is the OP, Outer Perimeter Patrol, and these vehicles frequently sit and idle, and for a gas engine, that's detrimental. We go through a lot of those vehicles, and now we have the opportunity to try something of an alternative, which I think is going to be a benefit to the county and to the department as well. So I'm looking forward to getting them on the road or around the facility.
We are grateful to try it too. Any questions for Kevin?
I guess, and I talked to Mr. Spencer a couple days ago about it, and one of the things similar to a police car that townships and boroughs have, they don't last real long, police cars, and in terms of years, they may not be that old when departments replace them. Even when you look at the mileage, sometimes the mileage doesn't look that high on a police car, but you have to remember that police cars spend a lot of time idling. And so if a car has police car has 100,000 miles on it, it probably has more the equivalent of 200,000 miles on it because of the time where it's spent idling as it's just on patrols or doing traffic stops or whatever they're doing. Similar with this situation. And that wear and tear on gasoline-powered vehicles, diesel-powered vehicles would obviously not happen with these vehicles. And so that's a big, as Ms. Peralwy said, it's a huge benefit to have vehicles like this. And I'm assuming, obviously, if we don't have charging stations yet at the prison, we're going to have them soon. I don't know, Mr. Spencer, if we have them now, what the plans are?
We don't currently have them there, but we have a lot of these vehicles have the ability just to plug into a simple 110 outlet.
Right.
Or they have a fast charge option, so we'll be working with Chris if he needs our help or if his vendors there can help him out, but
Okay.
get that charging station involved.
All right.
So.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, is there a motion from the board to adopt number 13 through 16?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And we have some budget adjustments today. Mr. Buscola?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Budget adjustment number 3 for 2021, along with the insurance program that was renewed on the February 3rd meeting this year, and item 6A that was just approved on the consent agenda. Finance is anticipating that the approved budget for insurance is going to be exceeded by $250,000, so that's what this request is for today. Most of the overage anticipated for this year is in relationship to premium increases due to the impact of COVID on the marketplace, and to provide full coverage for the Neshaminy Manor employees and operations, we had to provide supplemental insurance for our nursing facility for this year, for 2021.
Any questions for Dave? Is there a motion to approve the budget adjustment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And personnel actions, is there a motion to approve the personnel actions today?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving to board appointments. Do we have any board appointments today?
We do. We have 3 individuals whose terms expired on the Agricultural Land Preservation Board, and they do wish to be reappointed. Mr. Martin Schaefer, Mr. William Yerkes, Mr. James Nilsson. All these appointments would go until February 22nd, 2024. And we also have 2 members of the Children Youth Advisory Board whose terms have expired and they also wish to be reappointed, Mr. William Ritter and Ms. Kathleen McGuire. Their terms would go until March 1st, 2024. I'll make a motion to appoint those 5 individuals.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Does anybody have any other civics for today? I have 2. These are our annual contributions to the Peace Valley Holistic Center for $3,000 and to the Youth Orchestra of Bucks County for $3,000. Actually, I had one other one, too. To the Ivan's House Resource and Referral Center for our annual $2,500 contribution.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, we'll have the Chief Operating Officer's report. Ms. McEvitt?
I just have one item that I want to make mention of that I know has been out in the press, and we've talked about this last meeting, but I want to remind our folks in the hospitality industry that the COVID-19 Hospitality Industry Recovery Grant Program will begin accepting applications March 15th and run through April 2nd. So companies, businesses that operate restaurants or sell food and beverage, and hotels are eligible to apply. The grants will be $5,000 to $50,000, and it is being administered through our Bucks County Economic Development Corporation in cooperation with Visit Bucks County and the Bucks County Redevelopment Authority. The applications will be available on the Redevelopment Authority's website, and a link will be available on each Visit Bucks County and Bucks County Economic Development Corporation. But if you have any questions, we will also have an area on our website for an email box to Deanna Giorno. She's in our Bucks County Office of Workforce and Economic Development. You can contact her directly for any questions you might have on that. And our rental assistance program is up and running. We will have a presentation on that at the next commissioners meeting on March 17th. And we look forward to seeing Jeff Fields here to walk us through how that program will work and be able to administer about $40 million to help residents of Bucks County who may be facing eviction from their homes. And that concludes my report, Commissioner.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. McEvitt? Okay, we'll have the solicitor's report.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm happy to share some good news. When the Commissioners, asked the new legal team to come in last year, you asked us to try and improve the quality of legal services while also making those services more efficient for the county. We've been very happy to hear really positive feedback about the quality of the services that we've been providing for the last year. And in the category of efficiencies, before the current board came in, year by year, the amount of money the county was spending on outside legal costs continued to go up and up. And there was a concerted effort at the direction of this board to bring those costs down and bring more of that work in-house. We now have all of the bills in for last year, and we reconciled everything in terms of the various cost centers. And I'm happy to share that we not only didn't go up in terms of our spending, we not only stayed under our budget, but we actually brought the amount of spending down by 25%. So what that means is that that's $400,000 of taxpayer dollars that were not being sent to law firms and lawyers that may or may not even be in Bucks County, but instead those dollars were able to be put to work, to the important work being done by this county every day. Thank you.
Thank you. We've been looking forward to hear that, so that's great to know. Any questions for the solicitor?
No, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
And on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Harvey?
Yeah, thank you. Just want to, obviously, the vaccine has been the topic of discussion, and we see that being a national issue. The quantity of vaccine is in short supply in a lot of places. We see controversies in places like Massachusetts and New York and Florida and certainly here in Pennsylvania. There's been shortages in different areas. A lot of this is production. It does take a long time to make a vaccine. This isn't, someone has said you're not making widgets. It does take quite a while to do this and do it properly because, again, you're making a medicine that is supposed to be able to prevent a virus, which has killed about 500,000 Americans and has infected millions and millions of others. We are glad to hear about Johnson & Johnson getting their approval, and certainly looking forward to them. And I saw that they're working now with Merck to mass produce their vaccine. We obviously here in the county are still relying on the shipments we get from the state. Those shipments have increased just very recently this week, and we're anticipating an increase next week. We are moving as quickly as we can to put shots in arms. As we get doses, we give them out. We are not, storing vaccines somewhere for a rainy day. If it comes in, we get it to you. We're very hopeful to open up these next two sites in Quakertown and in Bensalem, and confident that we'll be able to get enough vaccine to be able to start using those sites as to their full capacity. We do know, obviously, that there are still issues that we are dealing with through our vendor in terms of email communication, scheduling, and those types of things. Certainly, we wanted to roll this out perfectly. We wanted everything to go smoothly, but this is an incredibly difficult process. This is a process that everyone's having trouble with. I know there's a lot of, we certainly get a lot of emails from people telling about, sort of the grass is greener in different counties and different states. But we also, talk to those different counties, and we know that the problems we had with links being shared and more people registering than we're supposed to were happening in other counties. Websites crashing, that was happening in other counties too, and I mean counties around us. But I know how hard we're working here. I know how hard our team is working, and I know how hard those other counties are working. Certainly we desperately want this to be a distant memory, this vaccine, this issue, the virus issue, as everybody else does. So we are continuing to do what we can to improve everything on our end. Our staff spent the weekend, really, in pretty intense meetings with the vendor who's been handling a lot of the IT. They have been made very clear to them the areas where we know they've fallen short, and we want them to get better. We've also let them know that our patience is not endless when it comes to that. And so we're hoping certainly to see some improvement from them. We do know, however, that we do have some problems on our end with data. We have been finding quite a few people, in some cases we're seeing it personally, people reaching out to us, and we're trying to do what we can to help them, who entered data inaccurately. In some cases, they're typos in their emails. So we try to send them an email and it bounces back to us as undeliverable. And we don't exactly know what the right email is. And so that puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage to try and reach out to those people. We do it by phone. We are having our health department staff start to reach out to people by phone if they do not have email addresses and some other issues like that. But we are going to be sending out another email to people on our list. And I want to make it clear that we're just asking you to validate the information that we have. enter it again, your name, birth date, email address. The email addresses are the main source for us to differentiate people, so we do need people to have different emails. If you're in the same family, you can't register multiple people with one email. It makes it difficult for us to track who's gotten the vaccine, scheduling them for future vaccines, et cetera. There is going to be help for people that have difficulty doing that, but this email is also about sort of cleaning up the data that we have to make sure what we have is accurate. This will not change your place in line. It has nothing to do with that. If you registered on January 17th, the email you're going to get from us asking you to validate everything will not change that you registered on January 17th, and we're moving day by day. I did have an email this morning from someone who asked if our website was broken because it seems like it's been stuck on January 15th for a long time. And I pointed out, so if you take a look, January 15th was our second biggest day of registrations. It was 12,000 or 11,000 people registered on January 15th. And based on the number of vaccine we had been getting from the state, it's just taking us a while to get through all those people. As we get more, we can move faster. And we are glad that we did start to get some support from some congressional representatives from Southeast PA, as well as the Philadelphia Inquirer, who put out a blistering column over the weekend that the state rapidly reacted to. It's a little frustrating because we've been saying all the same things to the state for a couple of weeks, but I guess that's the power of the press, and we'll certainly take it when it helps us. So, but we really do appreciate everybody's patience. We understand the anxiety that everybody has about getting the vaccine and getting it quickly. And please trust us when we say that we are doing everything we can, and we're always looking to get better. We know that there is, until we're through this, we're going to keep working hard. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner DiGirolamo, any remarks?
Yep, thank you. Thank you, Diane. I just wanted to comment, maybe a short story on the proclamation this morning, the Intellectual Disabilities Awareness Month. And the story I'm about to tell is one from my time up in Harrisburg. It happened a number of years ago, probably about 8 years ago. There was a budget proposal by an administration, not the president administration, a different one, to cut funding for human services to the counties. And the proposal was a 20% cut, which would have really been devastating, not only to Bucks County, but every county in the state of Pennsylvania. So I was trying to fight it, and I was then the chairman of the Human Services Committee, and I organized a public hearing, and I invited groups and advocates from all around the state to come in and testify about the importance of that human service funding. And I remember the room, it was absolutely packed. People traveled from all over the state. Many of the people there had severe disabilities, intellectual disabilities, physical disabilities. And we had a really, really good meeting. And I think that was part of what happened during the budget negotiations. We weren't able to do away with the whole 20% cut, but we got it down in half to a 10% cut, which still wasn't good, but 20, again, would have been devastating. But after the meeting, the one thing that really stuck in my mind, and will stick in my mind for my entire life, was a young lady came up to me, and she was not verbal, and she also had other physical disabilities as well, and she signaled that she wanted to talk to me, and she had a little iPad or a little computer with a keyboard there, and that's the way she was able to communicate with people. And she started typing and just told me a lot about what happened to her, that she was on the street for a while, and how that she finally got some help through the county, and she was really good typing it. And she told me about the progress that she had made, that she was in an apartment by herself, working a full-time job, and it was not for the help of the funding that she got through the county, which was going to be cut, that she would not be able to do what she's doing today. And then she typed, she said, please don't let them take the funding away, because it helps so many people. And I looked at her and I said, I will do my very best not to let that happen. And she typed in one thing at the end. She says, thank you, and can I give you a hug? And that's what she taught. And so we kind of embraced in a hug. And that just left such a big impression on my mind. And, you know, when I think of the help and the work that we do here in Bucks County, and our Department of Human Services under Rachel Neff and all the department heads and all the staff, and they just do an incredible job here for the people in Bucks County, administering the funds that they get from the state and the federal government. They just do an incredible job. And, you know, I just think it's incumbent on all of us to remember what an enormous responsibility that we have in making sure that we take care of our most vulnerable citizens. And I just think we do an outstanding job here in Bucks County, and I want to make sure that, you know, that they know, all the staff and the department heads, and I want to thank them for the great work that they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, do we have any brief public comments online?
No, Commissioner.
Are there any brief public comments in the audience?
Thank you. One real quick. I'm still adjusting to the time schedules, so I came at the end of the salary board meeting, and I only caught part of it. The last item on the salary board was a bonus. I don't know the right word. Bonus, an increase, some money given to a number of county employees. My question is, were any of those or all of those or percentage of those employees who received this, for want of a better word, I'm not being smart, bonus, were they salaried employees as opposed to hourly employees or union employees?
I believe they were
Yes, they all were.
all salaried.
All non-union represented employees, yes.
All right. And roughly half dozen, 8, I don't know the number.
Six.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion for adjournment?
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.